Back on the Sega Swirl episode, we discussed how Sega frequently put the cart before the horse when it came to innovation, getting excited and announcing cool ideas they had before they had time to strategize how they'd actually implement them. We discussed on that episode how Sega promoted the modem and online connectivity as a launch feature. But through the first year of its Japanese existence, not a single game had legitimate, competitive online multiplayer in any meaningful way. Well, director Yuji Naka and the Sonic team, fresh off the success of the ragged, sprawling, also very poorly planned out Sonic Adventure, actually conjured up a smart, well-considered solution to test the actual online capability of the Dreamcast system. Naka said there were two ways you can push the limits of evolving hardware. One is to aim for increasingly beautiful and realistic graphics. The other is to test the processing power by putting as much happening on screen as possible. They utilized the latter strategy to test Sega's servers with CHUCHU ROCKET. CHUCHU ROCKET is an action puzzle game, emphasis on action. The basic gameplay requires the player to guide little mice, the titular choo-choos, towards a rocket and away from large, dangerous cats walking through the stage. The manual tells a pretty tossed-off story about choo-choos living on a spaceport invaded by cats who become frantic thanks to the invasion. But the real focus is on the chaotic, light-speed gameplay. Your job is to guide the mice to the rocket without getting caught by the cats, and your tools are arrows. You can place between 1 and 3 arrows, depending on the mode you're playing, anywhere on the checkered grid, to direct the mice to the right location. But everything moves at such a fevered clip that it's much easier said than done. And your first playthrough is inevitably a bewildering experience of pulsating madness. The arrows disappear after a certain time, and in competitive mode, if you place a 4th arrow, the first arrow disappears, and the procession can spiral off into another direction, and you have to readjust your thinking. CHUCHU ROCKET has a single-player mode, a multiplayer mode, a co-op mode, and a challenge mode. And all of them are insane and exciting and addicting once you get the hang of it. I don't think I ever got particularly good at the game, and I agonized over those challenges, figuring out the exact mysterious angle that would get these mice into that damned rocket, while also at the same time misdirecting the cats elsewhere. But the 4-player mode, whether with computers or other people, is absolute lunacy. And I have rarely laughed harder at the chaos a game was putting me through. The controller feels like a firecracker, and you're just setting it down, lighting the fuse, and hoping for the best. As the game pushes the Dreamcast hardware to its limit, displaying 100 individual moving sprites at a time. You could also technically create your own puzzles and upload them online. I obviously didn't play this online, but it sounds like it mostly worked pretty well. It had some hiccups and some growing pains, but Naka said that this game was designed as sort of a test balloon, something with no expectations or famous intellectual property. That way, if it struggled, it was only going to matter so much, and would be a very valuable thing to troubleshoot and work out the kinks with, as their next project was planned to be a massively ambitious online role-playing game based in the Phantasy Star universe. A game we will talk about eventually, although not anytime soon. Perhaps unexpectedly, CHUCHU ROCKET became an enormous hit, knocking the new PS1 version of Chrono Trigger out of the top of the Japanese sales chart, and in North America found a lot of success as well, thanks to it retailing at $29.99, half the price of most Dreamcast games, for so much more deep, addicting gameplay. Reviewers chronicling CHUCHU ROCKET said they had some initial trouble getting logged in, and did have some issues with lag, but overall it was a fairly seamless experience. And the game itself was such wild fun that once they got things straightened out, it was full speed ahead. Sega went all out on promotion, with contests, minigames, demos, and they even moved up the release date in the US so they could include Americans in an international tournament where players could play against Sonic team members and other Sega employees. Ultimately, like Sega Swirl, CHUCHU ROCKET proved that simple doesn't have to mean basic. Figuring out a fun, challenging puzzle system that was easy to conceptualize, but wicked hard to master. A logistical mind teaser running at hyper speed that was also silly, lighthearted, and tossed off, with an ultra kawaii style that made for an appealing visual cuteness. If you have friends and value a multiplayer experience, CHUCHU ROCKET is one you must have for your collection. It's wacky, wild, sometimes confounding, sometimes satisfying, always logically engaging, always fun 4-player madness. Sega serviced the servers for several years, and enterprising folks were able to bring them back online in 2016, so you may not even have to have your friends sharing your couch to play with them. But this is an engaging work either way. One that was perfect to test the Dreamcast servers, and it's such a good, organized, forward-thinking idea that I absolutely cannot believe that the minds behind Sonic Adventure came up with it. Next time, the football is big, the football is bad, the football is dumb.